Hello, folks. My name is Sean, and welcome to my channel, The Business Mechanic. Whenever you have a vehicle that breaks down, who are we taking it to? A lot of times we are taking it to our mechanic to have them fix it for us. But when our business breaks, who are we taking our business to? In a lot of cases, we're either phoning a friend, we're phoning a fellow business owner, or in other cases, people are part of a larger group of owners, and when they have weekly calls or things like that, or you are partnered with somebody, you will call and lean on them to ask them questions. However, all those ways are very cumbersome because then you're relying on the availability of that individual. And a lot of times that individual has their own things that they have to take care of or deal with. So what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to build a group of business mechanics across the United States that you call to have them come in and then diag your business and understand what has broken. Because as most of you would know, that when something breaks, it's not always what's broken is what actually caused it to break. Same with business. Just because this piece over here is broken doesn't necessarily mean it was self-inflicted. Something else may have caused it to break. So that's where the business mechanic comes in. And right now we are in a 4-week series. We've just completed week 1. We talked about leadership diagnostics. You will find all these videos out on YouTube under my channel, The Business Mechanic 2, which is the business mechanic and the number 2 at the end. And week 1, we talked about leadership diagnostics. So on Monday, we talked about what leadership actually is. On Tuesday, we discussed communication and accountability. And then we had a part 2 to that. And then on Thursday, we talked about coaching and micromanagement. Friday, we talked about decision making. And now today, we were talking about recruiting and interviewing. And then as you can see, we have a myriad of other series and videos that we will be recording as the days move. With that being said, let's jump right into this week's series. And this week's series is people and the systems that we create for our people. And today it's going to be over recruiting and interviewing. Tomorrow is onboarding and training. Wednesday is performance management. Thursday's conflict resolution. And then on Friday, I'm going to show you how all of this funnels into our culture. All these items are extremely important for us to build a good culture for people that want to be a part of it, therefore will come work for your business. So, recruiting and interviewing. It is building a talent pipeline that actually works. So, why does recruiting matter? Recruiting is leadership's first quality control step. And what that means is if you want to have quality amongst your shops or whatever business it may be, you are hiring and recruiting good people. So therefore, if you are hiring quality individuals, the product and service that they are providing is also quality. So this is your first step to quality control. The wrong hire costs time, culture, momentum, and money. Ask a business owner how much it costs them when they hire somebody and they quit within 130 days or they're fired within 130 days. I will tell you it's in the 6-digit range. The next, the right hire multiplies your leadership impact. What that means, if you are hiring quality individuals that have they have a goal of being able to grow within your company, you have now created a leadership network that is going to be strong and tailored to your business. So, recruiting the right people is going to increase your leadership impact as you grow your business. And remember, Recruiting is just not HR's job. It's the leadership's responsibility. What that means is when we are talking about culture, leadership is extremely important to build our culture. Because if you have a great culture and a good culture, you can recruit to that. And then on top of that, the best people to recruit for your business is your actual employees that work for you today. If you have a good culture and a strong culture, your team will be out there saying, hey, I love where I work. I love the people that I work for and work with. You should come. You should come join us. So if you have good leadership and you are an effective leader, you are in turn recruiting for your company. So the mindset becomes this: we hire for character and we train the skill. So many times I will hear business owners say, I would have loved to hire him, but he just doesn't have any product experience. Okay, if you're hiring him to be or her to be a tech, yes, they need product experience. If you are hiring him or her to be a leader or a manager, your leader should not be your product specialist. Shouldn't. Good leaders lead regardless of the product that they are responsible for. Remember that. Look for patterns, not isolated moments. I worked with one company that if you had a hiccup on your background from 10 years ago, they weren't going to hire you. And that's extremely unfortunate because they were very judgmental in how a person may or may not have lived their life 10 years ago. I am more about patterns. Now, if that individual had a hiccup on their background report over and over and over and over, that's concerning. That's a pattern. But if we had an individual that may have had a small lapse in judgment 10 years ago, I'm not going to be judge of that. Because I will say, if you are judging somebody for something they did 10 years ago, you better be able to look in the mirror and not have any lapse in judgment for yourself. So please, look for patterns, not just an isolated moment. Now, we want to prioritize initiative. Do they prioritize initiative? Are they coachable? Do they take ownership? They prioritize initiative. They mean they're self-motivated. They get up. They're building things. They're constantly working on something. They're drive. They have grit. They're grinding. And during all of this, they are taking instruction and you're coaching them to build and be a better person and be a better employee. And everything that you're coaching them on, they take full ownership of. That's the mindset that you want to have. And do not recruit to just fill a seat. We recruit to raise our standards or to raise the standard. Where do great candidates come from? They come from referrals from other high-performing employees, industry communities, and niche groups. Social platforms like LinkedIn. LinkedIn's a great place if you want to look for executive. It's a great executive network. Facebook Marketplace is a wonderful place to recruit mechanics, laborers, vocational students, trade students, so on and so forth. Local schools have great training programs. They have certificate pipelines. I'm telling you, there is a lot of schools out there that are starving for sponsorship from stores or businesses. Like Wyotech, you can go up there and sponsor one of their classrooms. And then you can go in there every month and have an opportunity to sit there and talk about your business for an hour to students. That when they go out to the world, they're fresh, they're new, and they can be They're moldable. You can mold them, and they are adaptable. It's a great program. You have vocational schools, you have VOTEX, which are VOTEX schools, Wyotech, Diesel Tech, whatever. Go to those schools and talk to those students. And then have candidates that do have a leadership strategy, which means that when you are talking to individuals, they're aspiring to be a leader. So those people amongst the groups that you have working for you or with you, and they're wanting to become a leader, they're also great for recruiting. And remember, even when you are fully staffed, continue to recruit for your store or for your business. Use coaching basketball, for example. If you have your starting five out there and your point guard twists their ankle and you have nobody on the bench, you're going to increase the workload for the other four, and chances are you may lose that game. So you want to fill the bench. So continue to interview, continue to talk, continue to grow your network of people. So when a person does happen to leave, you can go right to your bench and have somebody waiting, ready to come work for you. How do you attract better talent? First, you want to build a reputation on clarity, accountability, and growth. So, like I said in the slide before, your current employees are the best people to market for your store when you're recruiting for new and better talent. And if they're out there saying, hey, they give you clear direction, they hold you accountable, but they hold themselves accountable, and they're always talking about growth. And if they can use themselves as an example for that growth and that clarity, you've got it nipped in the bud. Show your culture publicly. I say this a lot. Videos, posts, behind the scenes. Post this stuff out on social network. Show that you are a place that you want to be at. People can see on videos what kind of environment they have. I really love when I see people taking around a video and saying, hey, Jonathan, tell me what's in your toolbox. It's great because people want to see that. And not only do individuals that are looking for a job want to see that, so do customers. Customers want to see that as well. And then make sure that you are writing job descriptions that speak to the identity of your business and not just so task driven. So many times I will read job descriptions and all it is about what the job is, which is extremely important, don't get me wrong. What is expected of you, but the paragraph of who you're going to be working with and working for is about this big. Well, that's not speaking to the identity of the business that you're going to work for. And I'm telling you, in this day and age, if you don't have a big paragraph about who you are and what your business is about, people will assume you're hiding things or you have nothing good to share. And then when you're recruiting people and you are interviewing them and they're more concerned about career path than they are about pay, that's better talent. Because they know and they understand that as they increase their career and grow, their pay will also grow with them. And then if you want to keep better talent, respond quickly. Speed signals professionalism. I worked with a company that I was looking to work for. I met with each leader. I met with the general manager, the VP, and even the owner flew in to speak with me. We had decent communication in the beginning, and then they went quiet. I sent follow-up emails just to say, hey, where are we at? Are you Have you made a decision? Etc., etc. Nothing. No replies. 6 weeks go by. I finally get an email that says, sorry, our communication is not. Well, by this time, I don't want to work for that company. Because if those people cannot take literally 45 seconds out of their busy day to send an email for common courtesy, imagine what kind of person they are to work for. Kind of scary when you think about it like that. So, what is your interview strategy? Your goal. What is your goal? Your goal is to reveal who they are and not just what they've done. Create a structured interview flow. Now, I'm on kind of both sides of the fence with this. Because when I am interviewing for people for management roles or leadership roles, I like to intentionally have my questions all over the place because I want to see what their adaptability is. Can they form a thought and be constantly moving around? And if they can, that means they're going to be a good leader or a great leader because they're not letting this over here control who they are. They still stay calm, directed, and are still giving the right answers. So that tells me when things are pressured and coming at them from all different directions, they're going to stay calm and they're going to be able to navigate every situation. So instead of me asking behavioral questions, I'm letting how my questions are being asked to define some of the behavioral things that I am looking for. So, and then on top of that, you want to look for emotional intelligence and self-awareness. One of the best ways to look for self-awareness is look at like at salespeople. I've had some individuals that have worked with me or for me in sales that when we were talking with a customer and the phone was ringing, the customer would continue to look at the phone and motion towards the phone, but then my sales individual just kept talking. And then I would have to stop that individual. And by then, we've already lost the dynamic of that call because they have now upset this individual because they didn't have enough self-awareness to let them answer their phone. And do they have emotional intelligence? Can they tell when somebody is just not themselves? That's great for leaders because sometimes if we have an individual or an employee that is not, they're not in a good frame of mind, we can increase that and make it 10 times worse for them if you don't have the emotional intelligence to pick up on it. And can they communicate under pressure? Which is another reason why my questions are asked in the pattern they're asked in. And do they take notes on patterns? Take notes on their patterns, not just one-off answers. Understanding what their pattern is. And do they have a pattern of how they lead and how they act and how they respond? Just like I said in just a previous slide, look for patterns and not so much one-off answers. Red flags. Probably one of the biggest red flag is blaming previous employers. It was their fault why I left. They wouldn't do this. They wouldn't do that. They couldn't do this. They didn't allow me to do this. They wouldn't let me. No, unfortunately, that is a big, big red flag. And so many people make that mistake every time they're interviewing. And they give very vague explanations for job changes. Or just vague explanations for anything is a red flag. Other red flags is they have no examples of personal accountability. Now, let me remind you that accountability, again, is not discipline. Accountability is not to reprimand. Accountability is to create rhythm amongst a team of people or create rhythm amongst a job duty or task. Look for low energy and low initiative. A lot of times I will look at what a person wears to an interview. I know it's a little bit old school, but it still holds very true to this day. The general rule is you should always dress one above the position that you are interviewing for. And pay attention. Do they have an overemphasis on money versus mission? It's also a red flag. Now, here's some key interview questions to help you identify some of these things that I have talked about in the previous slides. Character and ownership. Tell me about a mistake you made and how did you handle it? What is a standard you hold yourself to that others might not? Coachability questions. Describe the last time someone tried to correct you. How did you respond? And then I also will take it maybe another step and ask them, how did that make you feel? If I'm still kind of filling out this individual. And then what is one skill you actively are trying to improve? Should be you are. Sorry about that. Okay, and then problem solving. How did you work through and how did you approach a tough situation? Culture. What kind of leadership brings out your best work? And what types of environment do you not thrive in? It's very easy to talk about the environments that we want to thrive in. It's not so easy to talk about the ones we don't want to. And then the final filter to help this, ask yourself, would I trust this person with a key customer? Would I trust them when I am not in the room? This one's extremely important too. And would I want 3 more people just like them? And if the answer isn't a confident yes, keep looking. So in closing, recruiting is the gateway to culture. Interviewing is the gateway to performance. So choose intentionally and lead deliberately. So in closing, thank you for watching another one of these series today. Tomorrow we are going to be talking about onboarding and training. It's a great topic and is extremely important to the overall vitality of your recruiting and building that culture that we are talking about. So as always, thanks for watching. Be kind and let's get to work.